3, just like that. What we haven't reached yet is stage number 4. That's what we call the real team. In the real team, the team members develop a culture of their own. They start learning from each other, and they start to learn how to resolve disputes and disagreements as well. This is something I'm sure you have experienced at university already, where you perform group projects with some of your classmates, and you actually develop a culture of your own, which means you develop a certain approach to the team task. You also start learning from each other by, appointing experts on specific topics and exchanging knowledge and information. And you also learn to resolve disputes. Maybe you have a disagreement about a certain topic, but you manage to solve that on your own pretty much. So that's what we call a real team. That's where most people are at. Obviously, we also want to, go a bit further and reach beyond that and reach excellence. So we want to become an extraordinary team. An extraordinary team is where people don't only focus on humility and excellence, but they really build synergies. So they realize, okay, there's something that person A is very good at and something else that person B is very good at. And how can we build a synergy from that? How can we make life easier for both of these people, whilst also increasing and improving the output, the final result of the work? Another very important characteristic of an extraordinary team is that they see both victories and also failures as opportunities for improvement. So they improve not only because of the victories they experience and because of the success stories they write, but they also improve because of the times that they failed and the times that they didn't succeed. I'd like to tell you about a very interesting example of that. It's an event that happened in Tunis a few years ago. And you can write me in the chat box if you've had something similar in Algeria or if you've heard of this concept as well. So first of all, I would like to excuse myself for the language, but that's just the name of the event. It was called the Fuck Up Night. The Fuck Up Night was an event where entrepreneurs and business people took the stage, almost like a TEDx conference, and they shared the story of when they fucked up. They shared the story of when they failed, of when their project completely crashed and they didn't succeed at all. And they shared what they learned from that so that other people can avoid mistakes or to repeat the same mistakes. That I thought was a really, really interesting event. It also takes a lot of courage, obviously, to talk about your failures and to stand in front of hundreds of people and talk about how you completely did not succeed. That's not easy. But it showcases a very important characteristic of what happens in extraordinary teams, and that is humility and also vulnerability, making yourself vulnerable and being open about both victories and failures so that everyone can learn from them. Okay, so far so good for understanding or seeing how a team is built. What's the process of going from a random group of strangers put in the same department or in the same group to a successful team that can actually achieve outstanding results. There are 5 stages we have to go through. This is a process that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work, it takes try and error, but we can get there eventually. So I think this is maybe the message you can take away from this. Even though it might not seem like it in the beginning, you can get there. It just takes a bit of time and courage, I guess. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite topics, which are the Belbin team roles. Dr. Meredith Belbin is an American psychologist who came up with what she called the team roles. Team roles describe the different functions that people take within a group, within a team. I'm sure you've experienced that before as well. When you work as a group, not everyone is good at the same things, right? We all have our individual strengths and weaknesses, things we're good at, things we love doing, and things we maybe absolutely hate doing, or at least things we don't succeed at so much. So within each team, naturally, people assume a role. A bit like in a family, right? Where people assume different roles as well. The same thing happens in a team. And Dr. Meredith Belbin came up with 9 team roles in total. I would like you to discover them with me today. That would be great. I will talk you through them. And then I will have a little task for you as well, where I'll give you 2 minutes to complete it on the spot. Great, so 9 roles in total. Each team role has a name, it has some strengths, and it has some allowable weaknesses. That's a very important point. Yes, there are some weaknesses, but they are allowable. It's okay that these weaknesses exist. The goal is not to be perfect or to be great at everything, because the idea is that we can balance out each other's weaknesses. Maybe I'm not very good at a certain thing, but you are, so you as my teammate can help me out, and vice versa. All right, let's start with what we call the action-oriented roles. So there are 3 roles that focus on action. These types of people like to act, they like to execute, they like to implement. The first one